A historical reversal from European shadow to Chinese might. For centuries, Europe held sway in China. European powers carved out spheres of influence. They controlled trade and imposed their will. The Opium Wars of the 19th century stand as a stark reminder of this unequal relationship. However, the 20th century witnessed a dramatic shift. The rise of communism in China, followed by decades of economic growth, altered the global balance of power. China emerged from the shadow of European dominance. It became a major economic force. This resurgence has implications far beyond Asia. China's influence is now felt globally. Europe, once the dominant power, now faces a more assertive China. This shift in dynamics underpins the current geopolitical landscape. The historical context is crucial. It helps us understand China's ambitions. It also highlights Europe's need to adapt. The old dynamics of power no longer apply. China's Belt and Road Initiative, also known as the BRI, is ambitious. Launched in 2013, it aims to connect Asia, Africa, and Europe. This network of infrastructure projects is vast. It includes roads, railways, ports, and pipelines. The scale of investment is staggering, reaching trillions of dollars. The BRI is more than an economic project, it is a geopolitical strategy. By investing in developing countries, China seeks to expand its influence. This raises concerns about debt traps. Some countries may struggle to repay Chinese loans. This economic power translates into political leverage. China can use its investments to secure support. This worries Western powers who see the BRI as a challenge to the existing order. The BRI's impact is global and its implications are still unfolding. China's economic might is increasingly evident in Europe. Chinese companies are investing heavily in key sectors. This includes infrastructure, technology, and energy. Ports, in particular, have attracted significant Chinese investment. The Greek port of Piraeus is a prime example. Chinese companies have also bought stakes in European energy grids and telecommunications networks. These acquisitions raise concerns about security and strategic autonomy. Some European governments worry about becoming overly reliant on China. The influx of Chinese investments has sparked debate. Some welcome the economic benefits, others warn of the risks. They argue that China is using its economic clout for political gain. This debate is at the heart of Europe's China dilemma. The European Union is grappling with China's rise. The bloc is divided on how to respond. Some member states advocate for a more assertive stance. They want to protect European interests and values. Others prioritize economic cooperation with China. They argue that engagement is the best approach. This internal division complicates the EU's China policy. The EU has taken some steps to address concerns. It has tightened screening mechanisms for foreign investments. It has also called for greater reciprocity from China. However, these measures are seen as insufficient by some. They argue for a more comprehensive strategy. This includes addressing human rights concerns and unfair trade practices. The EU's response to China will be a defining test of its unity and strategic autonomy. Section 5. Hungary, a gateway for China into the heart of Europe. Hungary, under Viktor Orbán, has emerged as a key partner for China in Europe. Orbán has cultivated close ties with Beijing. He sees China as a source of investment and a counterweight to Western influence. Hungary was the first EU member to sign up for the BRI. It has also welcomed Chinese investments in infrastructure and technology. This close relationship has raised eyebrows in Brussels. Critics accuse Orbán of undermining EU unity. They point to Hungary's veto of EU statements criticizing China's human rights record. Hungary's stance on China reflects its broader foreign policy. Orbán is often at odds with the EU. He favors an illiberal model of democracy. This puts him at odds with many in Western Europe. Hungary's relationship with China is a source of tension within the EU. Section 6. Serbia's balancing act, China's Allure and the EU Aspiration. Serbia, though not an EU member, is strategically important. It sits at the crossroads of Europe and Asia. Like Hungary, Serbia has welcomed Chinese investment. This includes infrastructure projects like roads, bridges, and a high-speed rail line. China has also become a major player in Serbia's telecommunications sector. This growing influence worries some Western observers. They see it as part of China's broader strategy to expand its reach in the Balkans. Serbia, for its part, insists that its relationship with China does not come at the expense of its European aspirations. Serbia maintains that it can balance its relationships with both the East and the West. However, this balancing act is becoming increasingly difficult. Serbia may eventually have to choose sides. This decision will have significant implications for the region. Section 7. The Allure of the East. What draws Hungary and Serbia to China? Both Hungary and Serbia are drawn to China for different reasons. Economically, China offers much-needed investment. Both countries have infrastructure deficits. Chinese loans and projects help fill this gap. This is particularly attractive in the wake of the 2008 financial crisis and the EU's subsequent austerity measures. Politically, China offers an alternative to the West. Both Orban and Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić are critical of liberal democracy. They see China's authoritarian model as a viable alternative. This ideological affinity is a key factor. China's non-interference policy is also appealing. Unlike Western donors, China does not impose conditions related to democracy or human rights. This allows Hungary and Serbia greater leeway in their domestic policies. Section 8. Economic concerns, debt traps, and the specter of dependence. One of the main concerns about Chinese influence is economic. Critics warn of debt trap diplomacy. This refers to China's practice of lending money to countries for infrastructure projects that they may not be able to repay. This can give China leverage over those countries' economies and policies. Montenegro's experience with a Chinese-funded highway project illustrates this risk. The project's costs ballooned, leaving Montenegro with a significant debt burden. This raised concerns about China's lending practices and the potential for economic dependence. The EU is wary of this trend. It has expressed concerns about the transparency and sustainability of Chinese investments. The bloc has also warned about the risks of relying too heavily on Chinese technology. Section 9. Political alignments, shifting sands in the European landscape. China's growing influence is also reshaping Europe's political landscape. Hungary and Serbia's close ties with Beijing have created divisions within the EU. These divisions complicate efforts to formulate a coherent China policy. Hungary has used its veto power to block EU statements critical of China. This has frustrated other member states who want to take a tougher stance. Serbia, while not an EU member, is also a source of concern. Its close ties with China could hinder its progress towards EU membership. The EU has made it clear that it expects candidate countries to align with its foreign policy. Serbia's balancing act may not be sustainable in the long run. Section 10. The potential price of partnership risks for Europe and the EU. The growing influence of China presents both opportunities and risks for Europe. On the one hand, China is a major economic partner. It offers investment opportunities and access to a vast market. However, there are also significant risks associated with this relationship. One risk is economic dependence. As China's economic clout grows, so too does its ability to exert pressure on European countries. This could lead to a situation where European countries are beholden to China for their economic well-being. Another risk is political interference. China has a history of using its economic leverage to silence criticism and advance its interests. This could undermine European values of democracy and human rights. The EU must be aware of these risks and take steps to mitigate them. Section 11. Charting a course, strategic responses to China's growing influence. The EU needs a coherent and strategic response to China's growing influence. This will require a multi-pronged approach. First, the EU must strengthen its own economic competitiveness. This includes investing in innovation, research and development. It also means diversifying trade partners and reducing reliance on China. Second, the EU should work with like-minded partners to promote a rules-based international order. This includes upholding international law, promoting human rights, and addressing issues like climate change. Finally, the EU must remain united in its approach to China. This will require addressing the divisions within the bloc and finding common ground on key issues. By taking these steps, the EU can navigate the challenges and opportunities presented by China's rise.
So hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, and let's turn the page on a new adventure together. Get ready to experience books like never before, only on VBook 360. Like, comment, and share to support the channel and keep the video magic alive. Thank you for stopping by. And remember, every video has a story, and every story deserves to be shared. See you in the next video.